Fights in the building.
Get the fight club. Yes, we're here.
Fight club.
First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about it.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boys back in town. We've been away for quite some time, and we apologize for that, but it's been quite hectic.
It hasn't been that long.
It's been over a month and a half, Mysterio. We
Month
usually
and a
do these
half.
monthly, but yeah.
Damn. I thought it was 2 weeks.
Regardless of the fact, we've been super busy working on our album, and we're very excited for that. The album actually comes out 1 month from today, July 5th, and you guys need to check that out. It's called Rumble in the Jungle. It's coming out independently on our label Fight Free, so make sure to get that, stream it, torrent it, do whatever you have to do to get your hands on that. And obviously we would appreciate the support, so if you want to throw us a few nickels, we would greatly appreciate it, because we put a lot of time and effort
Don't
into
forget,
this.
come out on July 3rd to our boat party, listening party. First time you'll be able to hear the album.
That is correct. We're having a boat party in New York City, and you guys should come check it out, because we're going to have exclusive merch. We're going to print out CDs, vinyls, and a bunch of other exclusive stuff that you can only get at the boat party, so make sure to come out for that.
We're gonna announce that lineup soon.
We are announcing that lineup, Mysterio, indeed. I think on Friday.
The people are waiting.
We felt the need to record this podcast today. We actually came together. We were, like I said, we've been super busy, but we felt the need to address a topic that emerged as of yesterday. And this is regarding a good friend of ours, actually. His producer alias is Zedd. And we know him as Antoine. And he is a good friend of ours. When we were starting our careers in the music industry, he was starting his, so we met him in the infancy of his career, the early stages. Mysterio even toured with him. Mysterio was actually opening for Zedd during the first ever Oslo tour. We've mentioned that a few times. But yeah, Mysterio, I want you to open this segment up, because you actually have a really close relationship with Zedd, as do I, but you actually were on the road with him and got to know him more on an artistic level. So what are your thoughts on first of all, address what's going on?
So, Matthew Koma came out yesterday and addressed that he was a major collaborator with the Zedd on some of his earliest works, and his biggest works, which included Clarity. How many of that whole album? I'm not sure.
I think it's a little vague. To my knowledge, he worked on Spectrum, Clarity.
The biggest ones.
A few. He worked on quite a few tracks with him.
The biggest hits.
Not sure how many he worked on that first album, but he worked on a few with him.
Matthew Koma essentially just didn't feel like he got the proper recognition. He didn't feel like Antoine was ever mentioning his name in interviews, or letting the world know that he did not write that song alone. He felt left out. He mentioned not being invited to the Grammys. He mentioned having to wait 3 years before seeing any sort of payment, royalties. So basically he was very disgruntled about how all of that went down. And I want to preface this with saying that I even tweeted about this yesterday, but in my tweet and the way I feel about it is I applaud Matthew Koma for being able to come out and talk about something that he felt wronged by. Because this is something that happens in the industry a lot. I didn't address whether or not I believed specifically. I'll go into that in a second. But I applaud that he had a voice and a platform. Because this has been going on for years. Not just in industry, but in all entertainment industries, where the bigger guy has gotten away with for a long time being able to use the smaller guys for whatever they needed them for, and then not give the proper credit, not pay them off proper. This goes on all the time. So I was really freshened, and I felt good the fact that Matthew Koma, not only was he able to come out and speak about it, but the internet didn't fillet him. Because usually what happens in these situations is the stands come out and they just completely obliterate anybody who's trying to voice an opinion about a bigger artist. And I did appreciate that he had backing. But then what I noticed happening was a lot of the people didn't even wait to hear a second side from this. They just kind of went after Zedd, went after the juggler. Zedd didn't address it right away, and they kind of just pounced on him. Like Zedd was promoting his upcoming show, and they were like, fuck your show, address this, or you're canceled. They were just ready. The chopping block was ready to cancel Zedd. I just wanted to clarify in my tweet, I made a joke that a lot of the bigger artists now who've treated some of the smaller guys shitty throughout the career are shitting their pants right now. I just want to clarify that was not at all a slight at Zedd. It was just saying that within this tweet Koma made, there's a lot of truth and there's a lot of big guys that do this. And I know that those guys are squirming. And I just wanted to clarify. A little pun intended there, I guess. But I wanted to clarify that there was not a slight at Zedd.
You need to raise some more clarity on the situation, Mysterio.
Yes.
Pun intended.
Sure.
You get what I'm saying. I'd like to tag in here. I gotta say, while I was reading, because apparently, for those of you who haven't read the tweets, Matthew Koma posted these tweets via iPhone notes. So it's a series of notes that he posted on Twitter. And I was reading these notes, and I'm just like, at first I was just, honestly, like most fans, because I was reading a lot of the responses from a lot of fans, I was startled, I was surprised, because I know Zedd personally, and we've talked about this, Mysterio, in great length since last night. There was always something about Zedd. He always wanted to reach the top of the mountain. He always wanted to be the guy. And at the time, we met him, I think it was 2011, Avicii was very popular. All the progressive house guys at the time. You had Avicii, Hardwell, Tiesto, all these guys, Swedish House Mafia. Zedd wanted to be one of those guys. He wanted to be a major player, and you fast forward a few years later, and he's on top. The guy is selling out shows. He's headlining major festivals. He did very well for himself, but without that go-getter attitude, without that ambition, I don't think Zedd would have achieved the level of success that he has today. So I applaud him for that, because I myself am very ambitious. I'm from New York City. Mysterio, you know the hustle. You know the hustle. You're just as ambitious. We want to reach for the brass ring. We want to be on top, and we understand that there are gonna be a lot of great sacrifices that come along with that along the way. But one of those sacrifices should not be remaining humble and remaining friendly with collaborators, whether or not they're in the past. You know what I mean? Like, whether or not they're collaborators from the past or present, you should still maintain a very healthy relationship with said collaborators. I think the mistake that Zedd made was not maintaining a healthy relationship with Matthew Koma. Now, it's very hard for me to speak on this subject matter because
we haven't heard the other side yet.
I haven't heard. Well, I have. I spoke to Zedd last night, and I'm not going to disclose what he said. Obviously, that's private, but obviously he has his side. I'm not sure if he's going to come forward with that and address his fans.
That's his prerogative.
With his take, that's his prerogative, and I gave him my advice. At the end of the day, he's going to do what he's going to do. But I have to say, throughout the years, Zedd has had this. He's maintained this allure around his true image, his self-image. He's preserved that real self-image. And what I mean by that is nobody really knows the true Zedd. And I saw the documentary about the color. It was the Colors documentary about his album, his sophomore album. And you kind of get a glimpse of it, Mysterio. I don't know if you've watched it, but you kind of get a glimpse of it. This is the documentary that Matthew Koma says he was excluded from, which I got to side with him on that. That's not right. If the guy collaborated on all these hit records, and I don't know to what degree he collaborated on the second album, but they should have interviewed him. If again, I'm not going to retract my statement. If he was involved with that album, he should have been interviewed. If he wasn't, then there was no reason to have him involved in the documentary. Now, I haven't done my due diligence. I haven't researched that, but I felt his pain because that has happened to me on occasion with several collaborators, not just in music, but in the film industry as well. Because prior to music, I used to make films, and I used to make music videos, and I made music videos for Skrillex, for Dylan Francis, for Zedd. I was a filmmaker. That's how I met these guys before I transitioned into music. And I know what it feels like not to be credited by your peers and collaborators, because it has happened to me many times. So I felt Matthew's pain. I know it's coming from somewhere, and I understand.
Let me ask you, there was a sense of you when you saw it that's like, yay for the little guy. It sucked that it was at the expense of one of our friends, but there was that part of us that were like, hooray for the little guy. And again, like I said at the top of this, hooray that the little guy is actually getting people to see his side.
Absolutely.
As opposed
to... I definitely... I felt like, okay, this is a victory for people like us.
Sure.
And I wouldn't even lump Matthew Koma in the same category as us, because Matthew Koma has been on major TV shows.
Matthew Koma is married to Hillary Duff.
He's married to Hillary Duff.
So make no mistake, that's part of why he didn't just get thrown away in the garbage like your opinion doesn't matter because clout. You're married to Hillary Duff. So we can't omit that fact.
You're right. But not just that, aside from the fact that he's not married to her, he's engaged. But aside from that, the guy has performed on nationally syndicated programs. He's been on live television. He's performed with major producers, and he's even performed with Zedd on television shows, I believe. So I'm over here and I'm like thinking, okay, this is great for him, and he does represent a group that's still underrepresented. We're still a minority in the industry. A lot of people that want to voice the truth and voice how they feel can't come out and do it because there's that fear. But now, like you said, with Matthew Koma coming out, hopefully it creates some sort of trend or a pattern for people that have been wrong to come forward and discuss these matters, just like the women are doing, right? Like the Me Too movement. Women are coming out. All it took was for one woman to come out, lash out against Harvey Weinstein, and it created this domino effect where all these other women who had similar stories came forward and talked about their personal experiences. I hope this does create something for the underdogs.
In the same vein, maybe these people won't even have to come out because maybe the DJ producers who are doing this kind of behavior are going to be scared that, oh wow, the shoe could drop, people could come out and expose what I'm doing, so maybe it'll inspire them to change their ways, and the collaborators won't even have to come and blow their shit up. And that would be a beautiful thing. Anything that brings positive change and helps us all treat each other better with how we work with each other is very accepted to me. It's something that I dream about, and I hope we can get to that point. I wanted to go on with what you were saying, so... Zedd. When I was touring with Zedd, I was literally sharing a bed with him. Talk about close. I was literally sleeping with Zedd.
Whoa. Be careful
it's
how you
2019. I don't have to be careful. I don't have to say no homo. I don't have to. It's 2019, SAV. It's funny. I was even sharing a floor with Zedd on some nights. Some nights we didn't even have a bed. I mean, you got to understand, we were all in the same room. It was me, Skrillex, Zedd, and some nights. Like, this was before everybody blew up. Or they blew up.
Yeah.
I was always just Mysterio. No, but it was a different time. And I remember that Zedd would literally wake up and check Beatport. It was Beatport at the time, and he would check Beatport and see where he stood. See if Shave It, I forget what song it was at the time, the Zelda song, whatever it was, he would see where it was ranking. And the reason I bring that up is because I want to show you and paint this picture about how driven this guy was. And I didn't judge him. I didn't look at it like, look at this guy. I was like, wow, this guy wants this so badly. I almost felt bad about myself. I'm like, damn, do I not want it as much as him? Like, here's a guy who wanted it, and he always knew what he wanted. So when I would have conversations with him, I knew what I always wanted was make a living in this thing, have a relationship with my fans, have fans, and have a movement, have people care about my art and what I did. And I'm not saying that Zedd didn't care about the art, but there was another layer to what Zedd wanted. He wanted to be the guy. He wanted to be Swedish House, Tiesto, Guetta. He wanted to be the face. Top guys, the Garricks, the Aviciis. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we fast forward and I hear stories about Koma saying that Zedd didn't want to share the spotlight, I can't lie, and I have to say that that is, that could be attributed to the fact that this guy wanted to be the guy. When you want to be top dog, it's not conducive for you to share the spotlight. Now, I'm not defending him in that, but I'm saying that I understand that at some point in Zedd's quest to be the dog, that it's possible that he lost sight of some of the human elements that come into collaborations, okay? I'm trying to say that I understand that sometimes it's hard to do both. And
sure, it is.
You know?
It is hard.
And so this guy succeeded in all of his dreams, and he became the guy. And sometimes you just can't do that without burning some bridges along the way.
Of course.
And the only thing that I could hope for is that in the mistakes that Zedd made, and in Koma coming out and sort of shedding a light on that, it'll cause Zedd to look at the follies of his past and improve moving forward. But it's up to us when I say us, it's up to Twitter, right? And the fans and the collaborators and the people that may have not won out of what Zedd did to give the guy a second chance, okay? Because I say this with everything. I don't like the lynch mob society that we've come to, where we just want to cancel people.
Your canceled society we've become. That's what literally.
That's not necessarily gonna help people change. If I was somebody who got canceled through a bad mistake I made, I could see myself as a depressive being somebody who kind of becomes bitter and angry and goes, damn it, I already lost everything. I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna triple down on who I am. And that's dangerous. Let's allow people to recognize the follies of their ways, and let's allow them to make changes. And if they're willing to get better, and if they're willing to change the mistakes they made. And it's controversial, and it gets even more controversial when you talk about other issues.
Well, Mysterio, not just that, but going off what you're saying,
yeah,
it goes further than that. My main gripe right now with the internet is the fact that they lambast these people without even hearing their side of the story.
Sure.
Like, Zedd hasn't even given his side of the story, and people are automatically pointing fingers at him and saying, you're guilty. That's it. So forget innocent until proven guilty. It's now, you're guilty.
Until proven innocent.
Not even. It's just you're guilty.
You're right.
You're guilty.
Because most of the time,
there is no proving anything
they
nowadays.
They don't want you to be innocent at that point.
No, it's like they want to relish in the fact that they have this power, and the internet knows it. For God's sakes, the other day they had an issue with Sonic the Hedgehog. They hated the CGI. Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie trailer went out, and they hated the CGI version of Sonic the Hedgehog. And they created a petition, and now the filmmakers are going back and completely reanimating the character. That's how much power they have. That they're
It's too
creating.
Much. It's too much.
They're forcing creatives to go back and change their work. And I'm bringing this up for a reason, because I'm just saying the internet really has gotten to that point where they have this power, this they have a stronghold, and they strong arm anyone nowadays. And they're doing this with Zedd. They're saying, Zedd, we don't care what you have to say.
And they're going on his post. He posted about a party that he has coming up. He has a show coming up in LA, right?
He has a couple of shows coming up. Yeah, he has Zedd in the
And
bar.
to his defense, he announced this a day ago. So people are going on that post like, oh, you're posting about this and you're ignoring the facts. I don't think Zedd's wrong on that. I'm going to tell you where Zedd is wrong. I know him personally. You know him personally. The man that Zedd is, the heart that Zedd has, doesn't come across in Zedd's branding.
Not at all.
We were just watching a promo for Zedd prior to this, and he's in his mansion, sipping pina coladas. You see his giant pool, and he's coming across extremely smug and just, rich white guy.
It's corny.
And it's just not indicative of, the 18-year-old boy that I met 2 weeks out of Germany. And I've continued to know over years, because people can be like, okay, you knew him, Mysterio, when he was 18. But I've continued to run into him on the circuit at shows, and he's always that same guy with me that I met on tour. And that guy doesn't come across in his brand. And I bring that up because this is where I don't blame the fans for judging him because they don't know him. Let's say something like this happened to SAV and Mysterio. I know in my heart that we have a plethora of fans that have followed us for 8 years, that know us through these podcasts we do, through our skits, through our engagement with them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, through meeting them at shows, through having meet and greets, through chilling with them after shows, staying 2 hours after to smoke blunts and take pictures, to going to after parties, throwing shows and hanging out with them at after parties. We have created a unit with our fan base that allows them to understand who we are as people. Now, we take it to the extreme, and I understand someone like Zedd, a lot bigger, harder for him to do that, but there's still ways where I think it's mandatory for yourself that you have a relationship with your fans.
Especially nowadays, you got to break that artist
break
fan
that
barrier.
wall and let them know who you are if you expect them to have your back. Don't think it's enough that you make fire music. That's unfortunate. Or fortunately, depending how you look at it, that's just not how it is anymore. Now, you cannot just expect your fan base to throw away morality. If they find out that you're being accused of doing something immoral, and you've never shown them another side of you that dissuades that theory, I'm guessing for Matt Koma to have this kind of reaction, I don't follow Matt Koma, but Matt Koma seems to me must have built a rapport with his fan base, right? Unless it's just the clout that he has through Hillary Duff. Again, I don't know. But I have to believe that he's built enough of a rapport that he had this wave of support come. And Zedd didn't. He must have done a better job with his relationship with his fan base. And that's the one thing that I could blame Zedd on. And again, I hope that this thing isn't for no reason. If at the end of this whole mess, Zedd can treat collaborators better and have a more open, honest relationship with his fan base, then this thing was a success all around.
Mysterio, but do you think the damage has already been done? Do you think this is going to hurt Zedd's career? Because I'm going down the timeline looking at these comments, and people are ripping this guy. They're tearing him apart.
If Zedd is willing to change and it still damages him, that's going to be extremely sad to me. Because Zedd's not the only one who needs to change, people. We all need to change. We all need to work together. The Twitter sphere, the people that are trying to cancel culture. Guys, you need to open your hearts up too. Because you hide behind this, well, he was immoral, and I'm coming from a good place, so I want to cancel you because you were wrong. You need to look inside. You need to open your hearts too. If the guy's willing to change, you can't be so angry and be like, well, he's just changing because there's hurt in his pockets, and I don't accept it. In order to make a better world, we all need to work together. The fans. Because this goes down, you're seeing this happen with Getter. And I understand the fans that are hurt, that Getter changed his sound, and I understand they're right to come at him. But at the same time, we need to work together and how we all speak together. So, instead of just going, Getter, you suck, you change, maybe express to Getter that I just miss your old sound and it just hurt me. But I guess I shouldn't have attacked you because I understand as an artist that you're hurt by the way I'm coming at you. We need to talk to each other. Guess what? I may have came at Getter in the beginning, but Getter has a point too. Getter's an artist. He doesn't want to make the same thing his whole life. And he wants to change. You're a fan. You don't want change, but you people need to, if you have Twitter, use it the right way. Have dialogue, have conversation, understand where other people are coming from. And I didn't mean to get off on a tangent, but it all coincides, and that's why I did it. All of us, fans, artists, collaborators, big artists, small collaborators, big fans, small fans, everybody needs to be able to have a dialogue. Because guess what? Here's the complicated thing. Here's the thing that's hardest for people to understand whenever a situation like this comes up. There are multiple sides. There are multiple angles. And believe me, I'm the first one I can tell you this. I recently, as a lot of you know, I recently got into a fucking Twitter debacle over this, over something unrelated, but at the end of the day, the truth even about my tweet and about the flack I got, we all had points. I wasn't 100% right. I wasn't 100% wrong. The people who came at me weren't 100% right, 100% wrong. No, it's shades of gray, and we all need to listen. When these hot budding topics come up, we need to have discussions, open hearts, and we need to listen to everybody's side.
Agreed.
And I'm looking forward to what Zedd has to say.
I'm looking forward to it too, but going back to what Matthew Koma posted on Twitter, he talks about things like, I wasn't invited to the Grammys when Zedd accepted his first Grammy win for Clarity. I wasn't mentioned in the speech. I wasn't invited. Okay, mentioning him is one thing. I agree, the guy should have been mentioned.
He was mentioned.
He was mentioned.
I watched it yesterday.
Corrected. Okay, so
he was mentioned.
So one, he's lying.
And not only was he mentioned, but he said my co-writer, he acknowledged that he wrote the song with him.
So Zedd did mention him.
Absolutely.
That's a win for Zedd. Two, I know for a fact because I have been to the Grammys.
With Zedd?
With Zedd, yes. The year before he won his Grammy, I was at the Grammys at a Hooters with him because we couldn't get in because there weren't enough passes, which brings me to the next topic. You're only allowed 4 passes to the Grammys. So I'm sure when Zedd was nominated for Clarity, he gave a pass to his manager, to his booking agent. I know this because I saw them.
Tim Smith and Lee.
And that makes sense because they're a very integral part of his career. He gave Foxes a pass. And then the 4th pass was probably for
a girlfriend, Selena.
Whomever he was seeing at the time, an intimate friend, whatever. You can make the argument that it should have been Matthew Koma. I get it. But it's not that easy to get passes to these things. You know what I mean? It's just not. And if he's going to invite Matthew Koma, I'm sure there's a myriad of other people involved in the album that want to get invited as well. So it's just okay, you got to draw the line at some point. It's all right, I get it, Matthew Koma.
Agreed.
Maybe you should have been invited. But for those of you that are not aware of these things in the industry, these are the inner workings that you guys don't know about. Okay, so it's not as cut and dry as I wasn't invited. There's a reason, dude. There's a reason. I've worked on Grammy-nominated productions, and I've never been invited to the Grammys. And I don't. And yeah, sometimes it bothers me. Do I go online on Twitter and start attacking the artists I worked with? Hey, why didn't you invite me to the Grammys, guys? I worked on that song that was nominated. I don't do that.
Big brother.
I just don't do that. It irks me because I don't know Matthew Koma personally, but the way he came off via his notes just seems so standoffish and defensive. It just came off so utterly bitter that I couldn't really side with the guy. He made a few valid points here and there. He was talking about how Zedd is working with other producers now because he's so busy, so he doesn't even produce his own music.
I don't even believe that. That guy's such a perfectionist. When I was touring with that guy, Jesus Christ, he was always working. Zedd didn't drink back then.
Zedd
was always working.
Always been a workhorse.
And he always admitted that, yeah, sure, he has collaborators on songs like everyone does, but everything goes through Zedd. Nothing gets put out without Zedd approving or liking or going back and tinkering. That guy's too anal to ever just give up a track and let someone else do it.
I've seen with these two eyes, with my own very eyes, that Interscope intentionally appoints 2 supervisors to oversee production. When a producer's in the studio working in Interscope, they specifically appoint 2 people, 2 engineers to work with the main producer. So when Zedd was working on Gaga's album, he had 2 other engineers helping him with minor tweaks on his music. This is a common standard industry practice, guys. For those of you that don't know, it is very common. It is standard industry protocol. They need to make sure that the producer is working in a timely manner. So therefore, they have people looking over his shoulder or her. They're looking over their shoulder and seeing, okay, yeah, we're on schedule. But if they're not on schedule, they need to step in and help them. And these are people that are classically trained musicians, that are certified engineers and musicians that are there to help the artist stay on schedule. Zedd was working on Lady Gaga's album at the time. He had a strict schedule that he had to abide by. He was on Interscope's clock. He was on their dollar. And I'm sure the same applied for his album. That's how it works, people. So yeah, the guy right now is at a point where he probably doesn't even have enough time to go to the studio to work on his stuff. So he has producers, I guess you can call them ghost producers, working on his music. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that Matthew Koma brought that up, it just had me scratching my head, Mysterio. I'm like, why are you bringing this up, dude? Like, why do you need to blow up his spot like that? To a world that does not understand. They don't understand these things. Because if I'm that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I'm explaining to you guys how it works. For the average fan, I don't blame you. If you're not a producer and you're not in this industry, you don't understand. If you're reading a tweet saying Zedd doesn't produce his own music anymore, he has other producers making his music.
It was unfair because
it's a cheap shot, dude. It's a low blow.
It is a cheap shot.
It's a fucking low blow.
Like I said, I had a lot of the same feelings as I'm reading the tweet. I'm like, oh, good for this guy. Like he felt bothered by something and he's making it public. But then as I kept reading, the same things bothered me in the sense of like, yo, dude, you're whining about the Grammys and things like that. Okay, I brought a Big Brother before. Kanye West was making the beats for Jay-Z. Jay-Z went to the Grammys. He did not bring Kanye that year for, I forget what album, maybe it was Blueprint 3. I forget. But that's why when Kanye put out his album, I think it was on the debut album, or maybe it was on the second album, maybe it was on Graduation, he had the song Big Brother. And he was calling this out, but even Kanye says in the song, I understand why you didn't bring me yet. Like, wasn't ready, it wasn't my time, and Big Brother was keeping me where he had to keep me until it was time, and there's certain things you gotta, as a certain maturity and stuff, and if this guy could have came out and expressed that he was hurt, that there wasn't more credit given to him without bringing up the Grammys. When you start doing that, you start losing me a little bit. You definitely start losing me a little bit because I'm like, okay, now you're acting like I didn't get this. And then he brought up the money, and I looked it up with you on ASCAP. I believe he got like 36% to Zedd's 40. Do you want to look it up so we give the right numbers?
It's on ASCAP. If you want to do your due diligence and research it, people, go on ASCAP. You can. It's available for public records.
There may have been
you
like
can
six.
Search it. It shows you.
Difference. 6, like 40 to 34. It was very close. When I saw that, I was like, my dude. So you got paid handsomely. 34% is a lot of money. Like that's more than I ever would have. I would have thought they would have given this guy like 5%. That's the numbers I'm used to seeing in these situations. I'm not saying personally, but when I've seen friends of mine, I've seen motherfuckers make 90% of tracks and get fucked or get bought out for like 5,000 and the track goes on to be number one on radio songs of the year. I've seen some shit. So when I saw the percentages this guy got, I'm like, okay, he's complaining about money.
Regardless of percentages though, Mysterio, it's beyond me why you would even bring this up. Like, it's okay. I'll play devil's advocate.
Sure.
I know I'm coming out very biased because I know Zedd personally, and maybe Mysterio might be too, but I'm not choosing sides in all this.
We're
right
not
now.
attacking Koma.
I'm not choosing sides at all.
I respect Koma's in the day of free speech. Koma has every right. He felt wrong. He had every right. But if I'm coming out to talk about stuff, or you're doing in the future, you gotta be smarter. Because I was very surprised that he got as much support as he did because of the things he mentioned. Usually the internet jumps on you for, oh, you look really bitter right now. But like SAV said, they didn't jump on him because they're not aware of industry standards. They're not aware of the 4-pass Grammy rule. So they're like, oh yeah, you should have been at the Grammys. But once you're made aware of that, you're like, okay, you had to bring Foxes over him. Because Foxes is singing. Foxes is the one on Jimmy Fallon, and it's just the way it works. She is at the forefront, the singer. And Matt Koma, it was his idea to put Foxes on the track, as he said. So you can't really get mad. Tim Smith, the manager who made Zedd's career, Lee Anderson, the booking agent who made Zedd's career, who put his ass in the Garden and in venues across the world.
I'll tell you right now who the 4th pass probably went to.
Probably a girl.
Dave Renee. His co-manager with Tim Smith. He has 2 managers.
You're right, Dave Renee.
2 managers.
So when I look at those 4 names, there was just no room for Matt Koma.
Literally,
I'm sorry.
no room. It's not even about defending Zedd here.
No.
This is just like
literally
common sense. Especially if you have the knowledge that we have, we put it all together and we're like, oh well, it was literally impossible for him to even invite the guy. It wasn't gonna happen. There was a list of people that had to be prioritized.
So the things that was fair game for Koma to come out. Tell me if you agree. Let's break it down. Toxic work environment. And I don't necessarily agree in the sense that I've worked with people in my life. I'm a big fan of film, right? There was a guy named Kinski who was he was an actor. And do you remember the years, the 40s and 50s? He was extremely hard to work with. He was a method actor. He played Nosferatu, who was a vampire. And he was so into the character, he was biting extras. He worked with a director. Don't remember the name off the bat, but it was a toxic environment for these two to work with each other. They would get in fist fights. This guy Kinski would be so in the role, he broke somebody's nose. He would fuck up extras and actors if that was the role he was playing. Now, people would ask the director, why do you continue to work with this guy? You know what he said? We make amazing art together. That's the school I'm from. I don't expect everybody to be as extreme as Mysterio and SAV, but I know you're on the same page with me on that shit. If the art that I'm making with somebody is amazing, I don't care how toxic it is. Me and SAV could fucking slit each other's jugglers. We respect it. We're not like that. But if it was hard to work with this guy, I'd continue to do it because I love everything I do. I love everything from our music to our skits to our brand. It's all love. So I'm the kind of guy who doesn't give a fuck what the environment, as long as the art coming out of it is beautiful and we're giving that to the world. However, that wouldn't be fair for me to hold everyone to that standard. So I applaud and respect Koma coming out and talking about a toxic environment, especially when Zedd doesn't put that in his brand as a toxic guy. He talks about positive things, right? And that would irk me as well. It irks me when an artist puts this humble image of himself and talks about love and peace, and which I don't think Zedd does that. He's not one of those self-righteous guys, but it would bother me if the world has one image of an artist and I know that he is not like that and he has fucked me over, and it would irk me. So I applaud him on that. So that's fair game. It became unfair game when he started whining about not going to the Grammys and then brought payments. And when you can look at that stuff and...
Well, let me stop you there.
Okay.
Regarding the payments.
Sure.
He's attacking Zedd about payments. We both work in the music industry. We know how these things go. Is it really fair to attack Zedd for that? Why?
Zedd has nothing to do with
especially if he's putting out these notes where he can intricately describe the situation. He should have mentioned Zedd and his team have not paid me on time.
Right.
Because we both know that when you're at that level, Zedd is not paying him out.
Zedd's not
directly.
sitting there fucking writing checks.
He's not doing his accounting. He's not sitting with a book, looking at QuickBooks and going, oh, I got to pay Matthew Koma for his royalties this year. Oh, no. That's Zedd's team. So if Matthew Koma wants to attack anyone, he should attack Zedd's team. Because they're the ones that didn't pay him on time, apparently. But I just don't understand why that has to be submerged with Zedd and his relationship with Zedd. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It comes off bitter. It comes off like everything needs to be lumped into one thing that directly attacks Zedd. Now I understand someone could make the argument, yeah, well, Zedd's team is Zedd's responsibility. But is it really? Zedd is responsible for paying everyone out. I'm telling you guys this because I have a label and we run everything internally. So we're not even at that level, but I can only imagine how intricate it is to figure out payments for all these people that you're working with, especially Zedd. Zedd is at a level where he's working with Interscope. And you know what? I'll do you one better. It may not even be Zedd's team. It could be the label. It could be Interscope that didn't pay this guy on time. We don't know the situation. We just don't know. But all I can say is, I'm pretty sure it wasn't Zedd that took it upon himself to screw this guy over on payments. So I'm sorry, Mysterio. You can continue. I had to address that whole payment.
No, you're 100% right. I'm pretty much done. I just wanted to point out where I think he was right. He was right in expressing not being comfortable working environment. That's his every right. It's free speech.
Sure.
He's right on that, and that's, you could even say, smart. And if it made him feel better, that's great. And good for him. Where he's wrong is, like we both said, not blaming Zedd for things that are out of the artist's control. And also talking about things. This guy Koma's in the industry. So it's a little irresponsible when you're going to talk about things to your fan base and you're not going to delve into the inner workings and explain it. That's very self-serving of you because you're getting them to agree to your points without really knowing the situation. Because if you don't know the situation, you're like, yeah, you fucking wrote that song. Hell yeah, you should be at the fucking Grammys. You're explaining this to your uncle and your cousins in your house, your uncles and cousins, and you're like, that guy Zedd, he is a fucking asshole. Shit, man. Yeah, you should have been there. You a fucking nephew.
What accent are you putting on right now?
Like you're...
He's like a hybrid of so many different languages.
Because I wanted to, an uncle could be...
You want to encapsulate the
everybody.
whole world view, right?
All inclusive. This is 2019, SAV.
I love it.
So your uncles and your cousins, sure. But when you're going to the Twitter sphere and you know the chopping block is ready and you're doing this on the 7-year anniversary of Clarity, when Zedd is about to go on tour, it's kind of mean. It's kind of fucking...
It's mean-spirited. It's intentionally meant to hurt and destroy everything this man is working for.
Now, if you were willing to do what some artists, what they do with posts, like Porter, for instance, was just raising money for his brother has cancer, right? So the initial post has a picture of his brother and the cancer, but when you click on it, the story continues, and then this guy could have done one of those stories where he broke it down, and if you want to be fair, he should have really broke it down and said, I'm upset about not getting passes, but I understand that it's difficult if there's only 4 passes given. He could have broke it down and explained things, and then give his audience the opportunity
Yeah,
to
but
say,
that wouldn't fit his agenda, Mysterio.
but it would be fair and allow people to make a choice.
Exactly.
But this is what makes it self-serving.
Yep.
And that's where, as you, I kind of have an issue. You know, I went through a plethora of emotions with this tweet, and like I said, it started off with, good for him, okay? He was unhappy, and he's letting people know, and for 7 years, I know what it's like. People probably came up to him, and they were like, yo, Clarity, why don't you work with Zedd anymore? And he was sick of being diplomatic, and like, oh, you know, Zedd's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. I understand all that, so... I'm like, good, he's finally speaking his truth.
We do that all the time.
We do that all the time. But then as more of the story comes out and as more of I actually look stuff up and I'm like, okay, Grammy speech. He does thank him. ASCAP. He did get 34%.
Mysterio, I just looked on Twitter. Someone just tweeted at Matthew Koma and posted a video of a GQ interview from last year where Zedd mentions him several times.
So here's the thing, guys.
And this was last year,
Of course.
Last year. So.
Now believe me, you. And this is the sad thing. Why does everyone need to be so extreme? Because you know what the next wave is. Everyone's going to put Koma on the chopping block now, and that's not what you need to do. Take some of what Koma said, understand he had points, some of what the facts are, and what Zedd has said in the past and done, which was the right thing, mentioning Koma's name in interviews, mentioning him at the Koma, in the Grammys, paying him out 34%. Again, look that number up, but it was higher than I expected it to be. So don't be so extreme and don't always be willing to just yell at somebody. Realize that it's complicated. But sure, I knew that was coming. Because it reminds me a lot of the Jussie Smollett, right? When Jussie Smollett came out, everyone's like, look what happens in racist America. Oh my God. And then more facts came out and you realize, holy shit, this story isn't what we thought it was. Now, I'm not saying that Koma is Jussie Smollett, because that would be unfair. That would be discrediting him completely. But for him to come out, he's going through a rough patch. He's obviously not doing well. And seeing Zedd just winning on a daily basis had forced him to come out and, you know, anytime you come out and it's based on bitterness, it's a slippery slope because you're going to get that initial support. But it's going to eventually, as more facts come out. And the fact is that Zedd did do the right thing in mentioning Koma.
Mysterio, it's also self-entitlement issues. These people that feel like they're owed more when they were given so much already. And we can speak on the subject because we've been given very little in our careers. And I'm not going to say this is not taking away from the people that have helped us.
No.
I can mention them right now, but they're a handful. Afrojack, Yellow Claw, Steve Aoki. You know, they're these big stars.
Well, here's the thing.
Big stars that helped us out when we were starting off our careers. DJ Snake. These
Skrillex brought me on tour. So here's the thing, guys. When somebody gives you an opportunity, at a certain point, after your work with them is done, it is now up to you to maximize those opportunities. You will never hear me or this guy ever say a bad word about Skrillex because he gave us he let me open up for him and Zedd and Porter. He let SAV film those tours. So did I ever tour with Sonny again? No. Did you tour with him? You toured with, that was your tour with him as a video guy.
Yeah, but that's been 6 years ago.
Sure, but he gave us those opportunities.
Stop yelling.
And guess what? We used those opportunities, we maximized them, we joined together, and we made it a career. And maybe we wouldn't be where we're at today if it wasn't for Sonny giving us that chance. We fucking love the guy for those opportunities.
Right, that would be the equivalent of us coming out now, years later, and just spewing all this information, all this negative propaganda against him because he hasn't helped us recently. That's what it seems like happened with Matthew Koma and Zedd. It seems like Zedd hasn't been helping him as of late and probably isn't collaborating with him.
That comes to entitlement.
Anymore. Exactly.
You are married or engaged to Hillary Duff and you have this history and you obviously have a voice because, you know, people came behind you. So you do have a fan base. I looked at your numbers. You have a voice. Instead of focusing on the glass being half empty, look at that half full glass. Look at, you have a platform. You have your old work to speak for itself. Use those opportunities. Do you imagine if SAV, the spinner, the fucking maximizer of opportunities, if he had worked on clarity, he would not ask Zedd for a goddamn thing. He would
there
use...
would have been 8 new clarities after that.
Yes.
With 8 other producers.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be relying on Zedd
Do
for the
not
rest of my
wait
career.
for the bigger guys to fucking come and give you something. No one owes you anything, and nobody is going to give you anything. They feel they don't have to. Zedd mentioned you. Zedd gave you your royalties and your 34%. To Zedd, he said, my work here is done. I don't need to continue doing more. And you can nitpick and say, and that becomes a different conversation, and different people are different. I can say that if it was me and SAV, we're just different people. We consider any collab, we actually overdo it sometimes. We may give more credit than deserves. This is the kind of people we are, because we've been fucked, so we go over and beyond to spoil. We're kind of like those parents that had shitty parents, but now with our kids, we're like, buy them all the Roku, buy them Pokemon, buy them whatever they want. We want to do better than our parents and our collaborators did for us. But you can't expect everyone to be SAV and Mysterio. I mean, not to be self-serving here, but we are the people's DJ. Look at what we're talking about here. Nobody's gonna come and touch. No DJ producer's gonna come and touch a topic like this. This is dicey.
Not at all. People are scared to talk about this. I've even noticed that.
Even Diplo's not touching this.
No one's.
He hates Zedd.
I haven't seen
nobody.
Any DJs.
I haven't seen one DJ touch this. And
no one's talking about
and
it.
I'm gonna be real right now. You know why some of them aren't? Because some of them are looking at this going, maybe in my life, I didn't treat the smaller collaborators with the utmost morality and respect that I could have. And again, I don't need those guys to be exposed. What I need is those guys to look inside and self-reflect and be like, okay, I could evaluate the situation. Zedd's not 100% wrong, but Zedd obviously carried himself in a way that did not make Koma feel taken care of and loved.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention somebody now who does take care of people. The biggest guy in our industry, Diplo. I know firsthand, and I know through friends, any work, the smaller guys, Diplo pays it forward, puts guys on tours, gives them opportunities, gives them Diplo and friends. He gives them up, he takes care of his people, and that's why you don't see people coming out talking about Diplo. Diplo takes care of the smaller guys.
He even puts them in his music videos. He just put Hervé Page, a small French producer with 200 followers on Instagram, in his music video.
Say what you want about Diplo's un-PC approach and Diplo's jokes, and say what you may. Diplo is a good guy at heart. He understands an artist's work.
Diplo had a similar situation a few years ago with DJ Sega. DJ Sega came forward and said, something to the likes of like, you don't make your own music, you use the culture to your advantage, and you reap the benefits, and then you dip on all the people that helped bring you up. It's kind of similar, a little different, but similar in the sense
Max
that
Vangeli came after him too.
Diplo responded and said, yo fam, I did what I could for you. If you couldn't maximize the opportunities, that's on you. And it's what we're talking about right now.
When Max Vangeli came after Diplo, when this guy came after Diplo,
he got canceled.
They got canceled. You know why? Because it goes back to how we started this podcast. Diplo is never shy to address this issue in interviews with fans. He talks about it. What you see is what you get with Diplo, and that's smart. And what you see is not what you get with Zedd. When you look at Zedd's Twitter or any of his socials, you see this handsome guy who looks like an Abercrombie model, and you see his face and he looks like one of those pretentious dickheads. That's not who he is. That's not my boy. That's not the guy I met on tour. That's not the guy I slept with. That's not the guy I gave handjobs to under the covers.
Hey, whoa. That's not the guy you freestyle battled with on the beach in Miami.
On the beach in Miami.
For 3 hours.
That's not the guy.
No,
and that's not the guy I saw in in Perukaville last year when he took 10 minutes out of his time to just bullshit with us as he was setting up for his show. That's not the guy he is, but that's the guy he's portraying in his brand, and it is our responsibility as artists to show the best versions of ourselves.
Yo, say what up to Thomas.
Yo, Thomas.
Shout out to Thomas.
Thomas,
Thomas, let me hit you back.
We're
We're
live
doing
streaming.
a live stream right now. We'll hit you back in 5 minutes.
Alright, good.
That's our homie / former manager Thomas. Guys, on that note, I think Mysterio, we need to wrap this up though, because we've gone on for quite a long time. Guys, we just want to say we got an album coming out July 5th, coming out independently through our label Fight Free. Make sure to check that out. 13 tracks, a side A and a side B, some radio-friendly fare in there. For
Why
those
don't we
of you
end the
that
podcast
want the radio stuff? Then we
playing a
got some
song?
bangers.
Let's play a song.
Play a song off the album, a little preview. And we just hope you guys support it. And we hope you enjoy. We hope you enjoyed this, because you're never going to get this from anyone else in our industry. No other DJ producer is going to touch these type of subjects. But we felt that we were the right guys to talk about it because we know Zedd on a personal
And if you
level,
collab with us
and
on a
we've been in
song,
these situations.
and you feel we did you dirty, come at us. We deserve it then. But guess what? You won't, because that's not how we roll.
And if we ever do,
Come at us, please.
come at us.
Please, and we'll make it right. Because, again,
Exactly.
sometimes you don't realize the mistakes you make. And I think that happened, Zedd, and that's happened a lot. And instead of just getting angry, we need to listen to each other and course correct. And that goes for all of us.
On that note, much love to everyone. Peace.
Bust up the place. Bust up the place. Bust up the place.